Hey, what are some of your biggest fears? I want to speak to those who are maybe battling anxiety right now. I'm reminded of a character in the Hebrew scriptures named Jacob, and he was about to face his biggest fear, which was also his greatest regret, and that was his brother Esau. Esau was his biggest fear because he believed that Esau wanted to kill him and also take away his family. And Esau was approaching him with 400 men. There was no way Jacob can get around him. He was going to collide with him in just a matter of hours. And also, Esau represents Jacob's greatest mistake. He was just really ashamed of how he had treated his brother in the past. He deceived his dad and took his brother's blessing. I mean, that can't be something that you are super proud of. Maybe even for you, there's somebody that you rather not see. For Jacob, that was his brother Esau. And guess what? They're about to have a reunion. And that made Jacob so anxious. Maybe you feel really anxious right now. Maybe you feel like something is coming that's attacking you and about to take away what's most dear to you, what's precious to you. And because of that, maybe it's even hard to sleep at night. But to Jacob's credit, when he is feeling really anxious and afraid, he decided that he was going to pull away to seek God. And for a lot of us, when we're going through stressful times, we kind of just drown ourselves in distractions, or we just want to numb the pain however we can with things that don't really change circumstances or even our perspective on things. And yet here is Jacob. He really gets away with God, and in that solitude, he really met God in a transformative way. And I want to just encourage somebody that where you're battling a lot of fears right now. Maybe you feel like the things that are most dear to you are now in jeopardy, and you're just going through a big crisis in your life, and it's left you feeling really, really insecure. But I think even then there's an invitation to really get alone with God and to seek Him. And that's exactly what Jacob did. He got away from his family even, and he just started to seek God. And when he was seeking God, he said, God, help me. God, save me. My brother, I think he's trying to kill me, and then he's going to kill my family. So, Lord, please save me. And then he does something interesting. He starts reminding God and reminding himself of all the things that God had told him in the past. So Jacob says, but God, didn't you say that you're going to bless me and that you're going to multiply my descendants? God, these are some promises that you have spoken to me. There's things that you've revealed to me about my purpose and my destiny. Hey, and for you, I just want to encourage you to just get alone with God, pour out your heart to God, and also be reminded of some of the things that maybe He has spoken to you in the past. I know that when we are going through a crisis, it seems like anxiety screams loudly. But yet, I wonder what God had also told you clearly in a previous season, because some of those things we can hold on to. And what Jacob does is he then starts wrestling in the dark. And he's wrestling with, I don't think he knows who he's even wrestling with. He can't see. And he's rolling around in the dirt, exerting a lot of energy. It's a very restless experience. And I think that's what it's like for some of us to just begin to seek God, especially if we haven't really prayed in a long time. Maybe we just got distracted with the cares of this world and just living our life, and maybe even just pursuing our own personal pleasure. And then if we really want to get back to seeking God, it could be quite restless. You feel empty, you feel lonely, you feel like this is pointless. You feel all kinds of like difficult emotions even, perhaps some shame. And yet what happened is when the sun started to come up a little bit, Jacob recognized that he was actually wrestling with God. So what he did was he grabbed onto this person he was wrestling with and said, would you please bless me? Would you please bless me? And I love how God asked Jacob, "What is your name?" And Jacob said, "My name is Jacob." But what God didn't do is, "Can you go put on your Esau outfit like you did before? Can you pretend to be somebody else?" Because in the past, Jacob was so insecure that he didn't believe that he can be blessed and affirmed and accepted for just who he was. So he pretended to be Esau, his brother. So one day he dressed up as his brother. His brother was a lot hairier than he, so he put on a hairy outfit and he started talking like his brother, pretending to be his brother. And since his father had poor vision, he deceived his father into blessing him when he was just pretending to be somebody else. And I think some of us, we think that we have to be like somebody else for us to be accepted and for us to be blessed. Maybe for some of us, we try to act like the person or we try to be like that image that we feel is acceptable in society or is celebrated in this world. And yet we're not really authentically being ourselves. And I love what happened is God says to Jacob, "I will bless you for who you are. I will bless you, Jacob." Because when he said, "My name is Jacob," he was sharing not just who he is and who he was, but who he had been and the flaws of his own personal character, because Jacob means deceiver. And so God is telling Jacob, "Jacob, I know that you don't have a perfect past. I know there's things that you're not proud of. I know there's still things you want to slide under the rug or hide in the closet. But I accept you and I bless you for who you are. I bless you not for who you pretend to be. I bless you for who you are. You don't have to be Esau for me to bless you. I'm not like your earthly father. I see you and I bless you for who you are." And then God did one more thing to Jacob. God gave him a new name and said, "You know, you were called Jacob by your parents, but I'm going to give you another name. Your name is going to be Israel," which means a prince with God. I love how God sees us differently than how people have seen us. God sees something in us that people just can't see. And I don't know how your parents saw you. I don't know how your parents treated you. I don't know how popular you are. I don't know what the customer reviews are about you. But I believe that God sees you differently than how people see you. And I think, you know what? That's what we really need to hear. That's what we really need to come to intimately know, is how God sees us. So, hey, if you are going through a time where you're battling anxiety and you're just so restless and you're facing your biggest fears in this season, I want to encourage you just to get alone with God. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, maybe even for a couple hours. But if you stay in that place and you continue to seek God from your heart as Jacob did, I believe that you're going to experience His grace. You're going to feel His love, and you're going to know that God accepts you for who you are. And He's willing to bless you for who you are, not who you pretend to be or you feel like you have to be. And also, I believe that God is going to speak to you and reveal to you how He sees you, and that He sees you differently than how anybody and everybody else sees you. And I think when you had that kind of encounter with God, and this is how Jacob described the encounter: "I saw God face to face." When you have that kind of experience with God, I believe that you can face your biggest fears. And I believe you can also face your biggest mistakes. And I believe that we can come out victorious.